Talking Heads, brought to you by Magic Carpets, with the only Carndine design showroom on the island.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
Hello and welcome to this week's Talking Heads podcast. Paying gas bills by direct debit and charges for disabled parking were two of the issues which sparked quite a volume of response this week, and we'll hear more about those a little later. But we'll start this week by focusing on the newest members of the House of Keys. Over to Stu Peters for more.
The island's newly elected MHKs have taken their seats in the House of Keys for North and South Douglas this morning. Ralph Peake, who's new to politics, and Bill Malarkey, who's making a comeback, formally entered the House of Keys in a traditional ceremony at the start of today's proceedings. Having topped the polls in their by-elections last Thursday, the pressure is now on the pair to deliver on their campaign promises to constituents and the island as a whole. What do you think the priorities should be for our newest MHKs? Are constituency issues something that should dominate, or are national issues more important? Is there enough time between now and the general election in September next year for the new politicians to have any impact at all, or is that unlikely, do you think? Here's a thought. Stu, we might as well use the voters list to have a raffle for seats as MHK, because they never keep to their manifestos and are always out for their own gain. Banana Republic. I don't know that that's fair necessarily, but a raffle, yeah, sort of an X Factor. We could do that maybe. That would be maybe slightly more interesting. I don't know. Good afternoon, Mr. Peters. Oh dear, Jim's been very official today. It doesn't matter one jot what the new MHKs want to achieve, as when and if they get a departmental role, they'll be directed by their respective chief executives and senior directors within such departments. Let's be brutally honest. Intellectual ability doesn't get you elected to the Keys. Wake up and smell the coffee. The ability to farm old ladies does play on emotional single does not play on emotional single constituency issues does. It doesn't quite make sense. For example, does anybody with a modicum of common sense believe that Tim Crook-Hall understands curriculum development and allied educational policy, or that Joan Watterson has anything more than a crude understanding of the criminal justice system, rules of evidence, etc.? Of course not. It really is a case of yes, Minister. Our MHKs have to be repeatedly told that they can't do that because of legislation, often ironically passed by them, international obligations, or their inability to think through the consequences of a desired course of action. I don't have a problem with this. Leave MHKs to fix Mrs. Quayle's creaking gate, debate bus timetables, or jaw for another 5 years about the level of service offered by the steam packet, as I know both the island's long-term vision and effective day-to-day management is firmly in the hands of our excellent and much maligned but nonetheless highly qualified civil service, who receive unwarranted and unjustified criticism. No wonder a chief executive's paid 3 times the basic MHK salary, but paid peanuts. And what do you get, says Jim? Some interesting points in that, I think. Manifesto means nothing. They have to vote with collective responsibility. Manx government's a joke and they've collectively wasted millions and millions of taxpayers' money, says Jamie. OK. What else have we got? Oh, stop moaning. It's the same all over the world. Think yourselves lucky that you aren't in a poor, war-torn country, not knowing where your next meal will come from for you or your children, says Dave. Right then. Robin Peel's called. I'm disappointed that we haven't got another woman in the House of Keys. I hope when the election comes around, more women stand. We need more balance in politics. OK, but there were women standing in both those elections, weren't there? In Douglas North and Douglas South. And the great voting public decided against them in favour of 2 blokes. So, surely all that you can do is put people forward, and then it's down to the electorate. Stu, what really annoys me are the folks who can't be bothered to cast their vote yet feel that they have a right to slag off the MHKs. I always use my vote. I would never let Mrs. Pankhurst down, says Lou. Yeah, good for you. And this from Davey says, do we have a lunatic party over here yet? I couldn't possibly comment, I'm afraid, Davey, although I'm sure that other people will. Ralph Peake, a shop owner, same as Mr. Bell, not run a multinational company, says John. I don't suppose there are many people in the Isle of Man who have run multinational companies who would be prepared to take a huge pay cut and be MHKs is the problem. It is a government of our peers, isn't it? So I don't know quite what you could do about it. Let's go to the lines because I bet Sylvia knows exactly what we ought to do about it. Hello, Sylvia.
I just thought that it might help more women if they went out to vote, because Emily Pankhurst, who went through so much with that group of people to get the vote, her mother was Manx. Her name was Crane. And
I didn't know that.
Laxey.
Right.
You didn't know that,
I didn't know that. No, I didn't.
No, not. I'm being a Michael Caine now. Not a lot of people do know that.
Oh, okay.
but we should emphasise it. And if that doesn't move women to go out to vote, then I think it should become compulsory.
Yeah.
And I don't really think there'll be a lot of difference in who goes out to vote in my heart. It just make the numbers bigger. But I don't believe, and I never have believed, in the ministerial system. There's too much power in too few hands. And it makes your MHK, a lot of MHKs, nodding dogs, really.
Yeah.
I never believed in it. I don't believe in it now. I think it's totally wrong for the Isle of Man.
Do you think that the new members are going to be able to do much over the next 18 months?
I think perhaps one of them may, because I personally don't think there's any substitute for experience.
Okie dokie. All right, Sylvia, always good to hear from you. Thanks for calling today. Hi, Stu. MHKs are unable to make any difference at any time. Policies don't come from the MHKs and hence the electorate, as is the case with party politics. The laws here are devised by unelected civil servants. They don't create them with any reference to the people, just as a means to make their bureaucratic lives easier. The MHKs then vote on these en bloc, and the government getting its way due to the built-in bias of the ministerial and MLC system. Due to this, some very bad laws have been passed, particularly in relation to social care of the elderly, to name just one. So, no, the new MHKs won't achieve anything they're not meant to in the view of the civil service, an actual oxymoron, if ever there was one, says Mark. Ooh, you're grumpy today, Mark. Regarding the economy and our income, Mr Malarkey had the following in his manifesto. Consideration should be given to furnishing some form of SWOT analysis, strengths, weakness, opportunities and threats, to keep the nation informed. Beat that Alan Sugar, John Harvey Jones and all the rest of them, says Albert. Stu, when swearing in, what has God got to do with anything, says David H. You see, you couldn't let it lie, could you? Important to an awful lot of people, and I would think that, pretty much any official job has that included in it, and courts and all the rest of it, whether you're an atheist or not.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
Turning to Wednesday now, and the decision to remove the prompt payment discount from Manx gas customers who choose not to pay by direct debit was up for discussion. The row over the issue had started in the House of Keys the previous day.
Is it reasonable for companies to expect their customers to pay by direct debit? The removal of a discount for gas customers was discussed in the House of Keys yesterday. Chairman of the Office of Fair Trading, David Quirk, was quizzed over the situation after his fellow Onken MHK, Peter Caron, tabled a question, with Mr Quirk pointing out that Manx Gas was a private company and the OFT didn't have the power to force them into an action that they didn't want to carry out. After the sitting, he spoke to John Moss.
They may not like the answers, but this is a private company, and like private companies, it's an inducement for those customers they do have to pay their bill a little bit quicker. And by offering that 2.5% to certain people, you get that, and they want to put that in as a matter of course now into the direct debit payment. But as I did say, we have had discussions with Manx Gas, and they've been fair enough to write to all their customer base and say to them, look, if you're having difficulty, if you don't have a bank account, if you can't make the early payments to claim your discount, please get in touch. And I know a certain number of people have done that. And that's what I was trying to get over to political members too. You may not wish for everything in the world, but at the end of the day, we live in the real world, and real businesses have to survive.
Chairman of the Office of Fair Trading, David Quirk, speaking to John Moss. Is it acceptable for companies to expect customers to pay by direct debit, or should all consumers have a choice of how to pay without being penalised financially? Are you still loath to sign up to pay for things by direct debit yourself, or has it just become part of everyday life for you? Manx Gas are taking the mickey. I'm making inquiries to change to oil. How come they have enough money to sponsor sports people? The most worrying thing is that I agree with Kate Beecroft, says Liz. Well, you know what Machiavelli said, Liz? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. 10% surcharge on the bill for cheque payment would get most onto direct debit, says John. Well, yeah, but you can imagine the fuss that would be created if they did that. We pay no bills by direct debit, don't feel as if we're in control of our finances if we do. Much prefer to pay as we go online, as soon as the bill hits the mat. Same with the phone, electric rates and everything else. Okie dokie. Let's move on to line 4. We've got Maureen on. Hello, Maureen.
Over the last year, the oil prices have gone down by a third.
Yep.
All right? And I believe that the gas prices haven't done so.
Well, I mean, the amazing thing was that it's not that long since Manx Gas reckoned that we'd not used enough gas, so they were going to put the price up because the profits were suffering, which always struck me as either particularly honest or a particularly daft thing to say when we're all struggling with the prices.
I think it's absolutely ridiculous. They have got a monopoly. They use the monopoly, and they're making too great a profit, and they're doing it on people. I accept you know that you can be in a private accommodation,
Yeah.
but if you moved, you might well look at where you're going and say, well, I'm not going to pay for the gas price any longer. I am going to find somewhere that uses oil.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
is your choice if you've got enough money to purchase.
Sure.
But if you haven't got enough money, if you're disabled or anything else, you have to have gas.
Yeah.
You have no choice in the matter.
All right, Maureen, thank you very much for your call. Let's have a look at some more texts and emails. We've paid our gas and electricity bills by direct debit for years, never had any problems. Less hassle, we don't need to remember to pay the bill. Plus, they give you plenty of notice of the date the money's going to be taken out of the bank. It's easy all round, says D. Back to the lines, we've got Phil on. Hello, Phil.
Hi, how are you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. What's your view on this?
Well, it's actually about the charges that Manx Gas are saying that they have to pay for cash and cheques going into their accounts by the bank.
Yeah.
Now, I had this with a camper van that I bought from a local chap, and he told me that if I said, can I give you cash for some work actually done on the van?
Yeah.
And he said, no, he says, because if I pay cash into the bank on a business account, the bank charge me
Yeah, they do.
X amount of money.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure what the percentage of it is that they charge. I'm sure he mentioned, and it might be my memory being stupid because it is, but I thought he said it was £40 in every £100, so that's 40%.
No, it's
you
not
have
that
to pay
much.
the bank.
No.
But I don't know what it is. But he also mentioned it because obviously to stop money laundering, because it's harder to find out where cash comes from. So if they're trying to discourage money laundering, so if you pay cash in, businesses have to pay money on it. But my query is that what are the banks doing with this money that they're charging? Does that just go into their profits? Because why are they allowed to make a profit that way? If it's for anti-money laundering, then surely that money should be going to something, not just going as a profit to the bank.
Well, and if it's anti-money laundering, why is it okay if you pay a fee to pay your cash in, and that's going to stop money laundering, whereas if you get it for free, it's not?
So is this just more profit that the banks are making off our back? Because, this is taking it away from Manx Gas, it's taking it away from cash going in through any business in general. The banks are just making more money out of us if we can only pay by cash as well for any service, really, so that seems a bit strange to me.
Yeah.
That was my point, really, because I don't have gas, so I'm lucky in that. But I think the people that can't afford accounts shouldn't really be penalised.
No, all right.
I think that's fair.
Thank you very much for your call, Phil. Stu, I have no problem with direct debits as I make use of that facility myself, but it seems unfair that those who do not use direct debits and are prompt with their payments are penalised. That from Ray. I don't think it's about direct debit as much as the fact that the dictatorial and our freedom to make choices is being bullied away, says Liz. Yeah, I think there's an element of that. Local authority pay the same rates as everyone else, says somebody. Terry called. I got a letter from Manx Gas and I've written back to say that I'm in my 9th decade and I've always paid by cash or cheque. I've never been in debt and I've never paid by direct debit and I don't intend to start now. You tell them, Terry. Pointed out that the gas prices have been falling for months. They're down 35%, and it's about time the drop is reflected in the price to consumers. They put the prices up because we weren't using enough. I also pointed out that a good customer is better than no customer at all and signed it yours disappointedly. Government can't really condemn too much because they lent Manx Gas the money. If possible, I'd change, and I'm disappointed with David Quirk. He's my representative, but he sounds more like a representative of the gas company. Okay, fighting talk there. Stu, they're not penalising people for not using direct debit. They're rewarding people who do, says David H. Yeah, that's fair. We've got a statement from Manx Gas about all this. We encourage our customers to settle their accounts by direct debit as costs can be spread out over the full year. Additional costs are incurred by the company in managing the accounts of those customers who choose not to pay by direct debit, and these additional costs must inevitably be shared by those customers who choose not to settle their accounts in this way. We do appreciate that we have vulnerable customers within our community and work closely closely with the OFT and the third sector organisations and endeavour to meet their specific requirements. Vulnerable customers who do not have bank accounts will be reviewed on an individual basis, and where possible, we will continue to provide the discount. There you go. We advise customers to contact us so that we can deal with each case accordingly. Well, I don't think you can say much fairer than that, can you?
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
With the TT racing on the horizon and the island's roads filling up with visiting bikers, it was time for a serious message from the police on Thursday.
As the island gears up for its busiest period visitor-wise, there's a reminder about the importance of staying safe on the roads. Every other message is essentially the same. Keep your wits about you and be sensible. During the coming fortnight, members of the Isle of Man Constabulary will be out and about to try and keep an eye on things, and alongside the traditional poster campaign, social media will be used to promote the road safety message. To tell us more, we're joined in the studio now by Inspector Derek Flint and Sergeant Alan Thompson. Good afternoon, gents. Thanks for coming in today.
Hello. Sure.
So, road safety campaign again. I mean, people say that they're often a bit trite, these road safety campaigns that you run at TT, you know, be safe, don't kill each other and that kind of thing. There are only so many ways that you can package the same message, aren't there?
I think so. I think what's been a game changer for us over the last 3 or 4 years has been social media, though, because we can just drip in. So as well as you know, you've got your sort of strap lines and your headline campaigns, what we've been able to do is achieve much further reach and put in more subliminal and up-to-date messages with social media. And a lot of it is, I think Alan will agree, is the hearts and minds side of things. If you engage with your motoring public, you get a much better job. And some of the work Alan's done with the roads policing Twitter feed, for example. I remember a couple of years ago we had visitors from all over the world sat on his bike and this, that, and people love that. And what that means is once you've got that, you can stick in those little hard-hitting messages as well.
Yeah.
And they're much more engaging than they would be otherwise.
Yeah. Well, Alan Thompson, isn't the problem with that it's only an Isle of Man audience that it's aimed at, or do visitors get access to that sort of thing as well?
The visitors get access as well if they follow the Tweetbeat IOM.
Yeah.
We want to paint the picture really for the visitors, just to indicate if there are road closures, where the collisions are, feed some useful advice. It's to empower the members of the public to make their own decisions about, you know, leaving early, avoiding the golden hour, which is the hour before the roads close.
Yeah.
Which historically is when the serious collisions occur on the course.
Yeah. I mean, Derek Flint, the thing is that I think that everybody in the Isle of Man is quite used to sort of hearing these messages about taking it easy during TT. The problem that I see is that we've got all these visitors coming over, and let's face it, there's no two ways about it. A lot of people come over because we've got open roads, they're here to watch the racing, they get revved up watching the racing, and they want to go out and enjoy de-restricted roads, you know, good for them. Yeah. But that is, you know, that's causing problems. So whilst we're all very careful, you know, you can be as careful as you like. If you go around a corner and a motorbike comes around on your side of the road at 120 miles an hour, you're goosed, aren't you?
You are goosed, and that's why we're going to reinforce the message with the locals, because we've got to sort of pick everybody up out of the nice, quiet country road scenario that we have for the rest of the year, and actually get people to get the game face on and make sure that they meet the invasion head on and keep the wits about them. But the other thing is as well, with regard to that reach which we've got now. I remember a couple of years ago when we started deploying the unmarked bikes, and I put a picture on social media of unmarked bikes operating, a sign on that. It went viral.
Yeah.
It went all over the place. The bike magazines were picking it up and retweeting it and recopying it on Facebook and this, that and the other. And you can't get that preemptive striking any other way than by using that. So I think what we've got is a two-pronged attack. Get the locals, get the game face on, and also make sure that the visitors know what to expect in terms of our style of policing, and also in terms of what the roads of the Isle of Man are all about.
That's probably a good way to look at it. It's an invasion. We've got to have our game face on. So whether we should have to or not, I think it behoves all of us, doesn't it, to just take extra care and to, you know, presume that there's going to be a motorbike coming at you at high speed on the wrong side of the road. And if you do that, it's sort of defensive driving, Alan, isn't it, really?
Expect the unexpected at TT without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
And leave early.
Well, yeah, and one of the things that I do is that, there's got to be a real pressing reason for me to ever go against the flow of traffic on the TT course during TT. I wouldn't ever go from Kirkmichael back down to Douglas the wrong way on the TT course during TT. Now, people will say, yeah, but there are roads, we pay our tax for them and all the rest of it. We should be able to go about our business as normal. Is there a case, though, for saying, well, come on, for these 2 weeks a year, let's just, think about this?
There is, but that's a decision for the individual. The mountain road itself now is the safest that it has ever been.
Because it's one way for the duration.
And utterly, yeah.
Yeah.
And we get a lot fewer collisions on the coast road now because we proactively are out there from 5 a.m. with a high presence. So it is about people making those decisions, making those choices themselves, and planning the journey, expecting that it's going to take a bit longer, and just common sense.
Yeah.
Talking Heads, brought to you by Magic Carpets, with the only Carndine design showroom on the island.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
You're listening to the latest Talking Heads podcast featuring highlights from the programme over the past week. Now, should disabled drivers pay for parking? It's a question that prompted an angry response from people on both sides of the fence on Friday. The debate came after it was confirmed that plans for Douglas Corporation to take over the operation of 2 car parks in the island's capital included imposing a charge for blue badge holders.
Should everyone be charged to park in the Douglas car parks? Douglas Borough Council is standing by its decision to implement charges to disabled parking spaces. The Chester Street and Drumgold Street sites will come under council control on June the 1st this year. Disabled badge holders currently use the facilities for free, but will be made to pay when control of the premises changes hands, a decision the council says is fair. Is the charge for disabled parking a reasonable one? Is it only right that everyone who uses the spaces has to pay something towards the upkeep of the car parks? Or should disabled drivers continue to be exempt? Are the increases in parking charges for using the Chester Street and Drumgold Street facilities fair? Or are people being priced out of using them? Let's go to line 6. We've got Hilary on. Hello, Hilary.
Hi.
Hi, what's your view on this? Do you think that they ought to be charging for disabled parking or not?
I don't think so, really.
No.
Because my view is that the disabled people are allowed 4 hours only on the parking bays there.
Yes. Yeah.
And anybody who works, who are disabled, who are parking all day, should be prosecuted. That's my view about it.
Oh, right. So if somebody parks in one of those bays all day and they should only be there for 4 hours, they should be prosecuted even if they've got the badge, you think?
That's true, yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
Also, that the people who haven't got a disabled sticker or badge, they should also be prosecuted for parking.
Yes. Yeah, I think most of us would agree with that. They certainly should be prosecuted. I wouldn't dream of parking in a disabled bay. I mean, it's just an absolute no-no, isn't it?
It is, because I am disabled, and many a time I have looked on a disabled bay.
Yes.
And there has been a car there who hasn't got a badge up.
Right.
You know, it's not fair on people who have got.
No, absolutely.
Stickers, you know, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I just hope that the parking controllers listen to this, or somebody listens to it, and actually they spend a bit more time checking out disabled bays, because as far as I'm concerned, that's a big no-no.
Okay, thanks very much.
Cheers, bye-bye. Laura called. I'm not disabled myself, this is yesterday, but just another point about the parking charges. Disabled people quite often have difficulty getting in and out of the car, which is why the spaces are situated where they are, which is fine. But having to get out of the car to get to a paying booth, get back to the car, and maybe even have to get out of their chair to put the ticket on the windscreen could be difficult for them. It's an added obstacle for them. Yeah, you sometimes wonder whether or not these things are thought through properly. Maybe this charge for disabled parking will stop those who abuse the system by parking in disabled parking areas without the actual disabled person being in the car. Able-bodied persons are not allowed to park in the allocated areas if they're not accompanying the actual person who the badge has been issued to. Fair. So annoying and deceptive and uncaring for others who need to park there, says D. Good point. I don't see the problem with charging, as there There always seem to be plenty of disabled spaces available to save long walks, which surely is the most important thing. That's Maggie and Ramsey. Yeah, it seems to me that there are plenty of disabled spaces, but maybe, if you want to park for more than 4 hours, then they're not terribly suitable. I don't know. Stu, yes, it is fair that everyone pays their way. Sick of people getting benefits. The majority of people live month to month. No more subsidies. Okay, again, a different point of view, but that's what this programme's all about. If you have a thought on this, share it with us. You know how to do that. No, it's not fair. I'm one of those people who manfully stick up for the government as they have an unenviable job to do, a third of their income lost and having to grow the economy in a very competitive world. However, heaven help us if we lose all compassion. As I said yesterday, some of us have no choice but to drive into town as we can't get onto buses. I'm even more angry at the attitude of the spokesman. Just heard it's a Douglas government, shame on corporation. Disabled people have a hard time just getting around. They don't get their badges for nothing, and the corp is showing a complete lack of compassion, says Liz. Hi Stu, if there are two disabled people, the first uses the car park and the second doesn't, surely it's only fair that the first should pay, says David H. Different way of looking at it. Stu, I know that this will cause a bit of an uproar, but why should disabled drivers be exempt from parking charges? They get marked bays nearer to the shops. If they don't want to pay parking charges, then don't own a car. Why should other vehicle owners subsidise them? What next? Short, tall, thin and fat people exempt from charges? Don't think so, says Mal. I don't see what all the fuss is about. Being disabled doesn't mean that you're destitute. The fact that they have a car proves that, says Steve Kay. Well, disabled people might say, we don't really want to have a car, but it's the only way that we can get around. So there's another side to that as well. Stu, of course they should charge for parking. Nothing is free anymore, and that should be across the board. These blue badges are used by family members when the disabled person isn't even in the vehicle a lot too. No one's ever prosecuted for misuse of the badges as far as I'm aware. I was offered a disabled badge when I badly broke my leg a number of years back, but I refused it as I felt I didn't warrant one. Some of them are given out for people who shouldn't or don't need one, says Andy. A couple of free parks outside the town hall. Let's get rid of them. Yes, for officials. Stu, surely if we're starting to charge for disabled badges, a parking fee would have been incorporated into this charge. Instead, we're charging disabled people again. Just a thought, says Lorraine, with a kiss. Thanks for the kiss, Lorraine. Let's go to the lines and see what Dougie makes of this. Hello, Dougie.
No, I'll tell you what it is. Okay, I'm getting on now. I'm 85 years of age. I've had 3 heart attacks. I've got a pacemaker. My hips are gone. My knees are gone. Yeah. And yet, I can no more walk down, say, from Shaw's Brow Car Park down to Marks and Spencer's, something like that. It's ridiculous. If these people, if they think it's such a hard life or an easy life being crippled, change places with them.
Yeah.
I'd change places with any of them tomorrow.
Yeah.
And not only that, I've got a wife who's exactly the same, a pair of us. But these people, a little bit more consideration on the part of a lot of these drivers would go amiss.
All right, fair comment. Thank you very much, Dougie. Thanks for getting in touch with us today. An email that's coming via our new website. Hi, I wonder why they couldn't change their rules of the car park and charge those that work. There are many disabled people who can't work and are on benefits. Maybe one day these people who are charging everything taken from the disabled will find themselves with a disability and then truly understand. Also, for your listeners who say they're sick of people getting handouts, perhaps they should spend a day in the life of somebody who's crippled with pain or indeed without limbs. It makes me frustrated and sad at the lack of compassion that's happening on this island lately. Thanks for your time. And that from Terry. Thank you for getting in touch, Terry. I think you make some very good points there. We are all getting a bit mean-spirited about things, aren't we?
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
Rounding off the week, we return to the TT theme, when Terry Holmes of the Isle of Man TT Marshals Association popped in for a chat about how marshal numbers were shaping up for this year's event.
It's always good to see you. We do this every year and people say, we've heard this before, we need more marshals. Well, the fact is that usually you do, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. And we're in the same position again this year. Saturday and Monday are just about on the limit because most of the people are only coming in over the weekend. Yeah. So if anybody out there is still thinking of doing it or want to come back to us, we will be made most welcome.
And there are lots of people out of there who've maybe been marshals in the past and they're taking a break for it, or they decided that they didn't want to do it anymore or whatever, who could walk straight back into it and just alleviate the problem, I'm guessing.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, we welcome anybody that's been there before back to the fold. Even like we've said on numerous occasions before, even if they give us a couple of days here and there, it's everything to help.
And is there still time for somebody who's never marshalled before to actually get signed on and to, sit and watch the video and, get that very basic training that enables them to go out and help people?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if they call in at the office, they can sort of fill the form in, and then, that's all getting processed. They can watch the DVD. We've got facilities to watch that. By the time they've watched the DVD, their warrant and that is all ready for them, and they can be out marshalling that evening.
So pop down to the office and you could literally walk out with your warrant and be able to... And again, and I know that we talk about this every time, but anybody who's a little bit nervous about it, thinking, oh, well, surely that's not much training. The fact is that, you would be like an apprentice marshal in many ways. You'd be sent out with experienced people. You can decide what you're prepared to do, what you're not prepared to do. You can work very much within your own comfort zone, can't you?
Yeah, definitely. As we've always said before, any newcomer marshal is always put with experienced marshals, and as they progress through, every time they go out they get a signature, and when they reach 10 signatures they're then deemed to be capable enough to be sort of looking after other people then.
Yeah, good stuff. And I think the very first time that we ever did one of these interviews, I was amazed that it takes over 500 people to marshal the mountain course. How many is it? 500?
It's crept up a little bit, as it does each year. We're up to 520 now.
520. But that's only the tip of the iceberg, isn't it? Because did I hear at some point that you actually need something like 1,500 people signed on to allow you the flexibility to do what you need to do?
Yeah, over the TT last year, we used 1,870 marshals over the fortnight. And as you say, 520 is your bare minimum. You could have 600 marshals out there in the course, but unless 520 of them are in the specific places where they're supposed to be, that's the pinch point.
And you always do your best, don't you, to let people go where they want to go. So if I was able to sign up and give you a couple of hours and, marshal on Bray Hill, for example, you do your best to put me in there, but you hope that people are going to be a bit more flexible and be prepared to move around a bit.
Yes, we as you said, we like to get them to go where they want to go. We added a little bit on the online signing on the board now that when they do sign on, there's a tick box there if they are willing to move, so that helps as well. So that identifies to us that if we are stuck, we can contact them and ask them to move somewhere else.
Good. All right. So are there any qualifications for being a marshal?
No, just anybody from 16 to 18 needs their parents' consent. After that, no, just come down. Basic training will be given there. You'll watch the DVD. We'll go through anything with you. We'll go through the flags with you. We'll go through Tetra with you. We always have them at the office. If you just want to call in and have a talk and see what you think, go out and try it.
Okay, give us some contact details if anybody's listening to this and thinks, go on, I'll give it a go this time.
Yeah, the phone number of the office is 01624 61 81 91. You can get us on email at info@iomttma.com, or you can visit our website, which is www.iomttma. There's also, you can sign on online on that, and there's also a link there to a YouTube video of Introduction to Marshalling.
And if all that fails, if all the electronics go wrong, literally go up to the grandstand, walk round the back to the office and have a word with people there, yeah?
Yeah, our little office is at the top end of the car park of the paddock. It's all well signposted. Call in and see us and have a natter.
Brilliant. All right, so 618191's the number. info@iomttma.com is the email.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
Well, we hope you enjoyed the latest look back at some of the highlights from Talking Heads over the past week. Our thanks, as ever, to everyone who contributed to the programme. If you'd like to hear more, tune in on weekdays between midday and 2 p.m, or you can access the full programmes in the on-demand section of the new look manxradio.com. You'll find what's up for discussion on the programme each day on the website too, or on the Facebook page, that's Talking Heads with Stu Peters, or follow Stu Manx on Twitter. If you'd like to get involved in the discussion, you can call, text or email us on weekdays between midday and 2 p.m. Or if you want to have your say but can't tune in at those times, the best place to join in the debate is on the Talking Heads Facebook page. Just find the relevant topic and add your comments. But remember, as we always say, the usual rules of the programme apply, so keep what you say within reason. And if there's a subject you think we could discuss on the programme, why not suggest it by emailing talk@manxradio.com. and you can do that anytime. But that's it for this week, so until next week, goodbye.
Talking Heads, brought to you by Magic Carpets, with the only Carndine design showroom on the island.